Welcome back to the Thoughtful Hour series, Day 3. We are continuing to read from the booklet, The Sufferings of Christ. After his baptism, the Son of God entered the dreary wilderness, there to be tempted by the devil. For nearly 6 weeks, he endured the agonies of hunger. For 40 days he ate and drank nothing. This made his suffering greater than anything which man would ever be called to endure. Christ was bearing the guilt of the transgressor. He realized the power of appetite upon man, and in behalf of sinful man, he bore the closest test possible upon that point. Here a victory was gained which few can appreciate. The controlling power of depraved appetite and the grievous sin of indulging it can only be understood by the length of the fast which our Savior endured that he might break its power. Satan had gained the victory over man in almost every temptation on the point of appetite. The Son of God saw that man could not of himself overcome this powerful temptation. And he had such infinite love for the race that he left the royal courts of heaven and clothed his divinity with humanity, that with his long human arm he might reach to the very depths of human woe, while with his divine arm he grasped the infinite. He came to earth to unite his divine power with our human efforts, that through the strength and moral power which he imparts, we might overcome in our own behalf. Oh, what matchless condescension for the King of glory to come down to this world, to endure the pangs of hunger and the fierce temptations of a wily foe, that he might gain an infinite victory for man. Here is love without a parallel. Yet this great condescension is but dimly comprehended by those for whom it was made. It was not the gnawing pangs of hunger alone which made the sufferings of our Redeemer so inexpressibly severe. It was the sense of guilt which had resulted from the indulgence of appetite that had brought such terrible woe into the world, which pressed so heavily upon his divine soul. For he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. With man's nature and the terrible weight of his sins pressing upon him, our Redeemer withstood the power of Satan upon this great leading temptation, which imperils the souls of men. If man should overcome this temptation, he could conquer on every other point. Intemperance lies at the foundation of all the moral evils known to man. Christ began the work of redemption just where the ruin began. The fall of our first parents was caused by the indulgence of appetite. In redemption, the denial of appetite is the first work of Christ. What amazing love has Christ manifested in coming into the world to bear our sins and infirmities, and to tread the path of suffering, that he might show us by his life of spotless merit how we should walk and overcome as he had overcome, and that we might become reconciled to God. As the human was upon Christ, he felt his need of strength from his Father. He had select places of prayer. He loved the solitude of the mountain in which to hold communion with his Father in heaven. In this exercise, he was strengthened for the duties and trials of the day. Our Savior identifies himself with our needs and weaknesses in that he becomes a suppliant, a nightly petitioner, seeking from his Father fresh supplies of strength to come forth invigorated and refreshed, braced for duty and trial. He is our example in all things. He is a brother in our infirmities, but not possessing like passions. As the sinless one, his nature recoiled from evil. He endured struggles and torture of soul in a world of sin. His humanity made prayer a necessity and privilege. He required all the divine support and comfort which his Father was ready to impart to his Son, who had left the joys of heaven and chosen his home for the benefit of man in a cold and thankless world. Christ found joy and comfort in communion with his Father. Here he could unburden his sorrows that were crushing him. He was a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. Through the day, he labored earnestly to save men from destruction. He healed the sick. He comforted the mourning and brought cheerfulness and hope to the despairing. He brought the dead to life. After his work was finished for the day, he went forth, evening after evening, away from the confusion of the city, and his form was bowed in some retired place in supplication to his Father. At times the bright beams of the moon shone upon his bowed form, and then again the clouds and darkness shut away all light. The dew and frost of night rested upon his head and beard while in the attitude of a suppliant. He frequently continued his petitions through the entire night. If the Savior of men, with his divine strength, felt the need of prayer in our behalf, how much more? How much more should feeble, sinful mortals feel the necessity of prayer, fervent, constant prayer on their own account? When Christ was the most fiercely beset by temptations, he ate nothing. He committed himself to God, and through earnest prayer and perfect submission to the will of God, came off conqueror. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. Our tables are frequently spread with luxuries not healthful nor necessary, because we love these things more than we love freedom from disease and a sound mind. Jesus sought earnestly for strength from his Father. This, the divine Son of God, considered of more value, even for himself, than to sit at the most luxurious table. He has given us evidence that prayer is essential to us in order to receive strength to contend with the powers of darkness and to do the work allotted us to perform. Our own strength is weakness, but that which God gives will make everyone who obtains it more than conqueror. This brings us to the end of our reading for day 3. Thank you for listening.